Hello everyone, welcome to CYBR603 Learning Activity 9. This is the moon-based discussion that I had mentioned for in the previous lecture. This is part one of an ongoing series as we move through. We won't always have this discussion, but there will be each week rather. And who knows, there might be even some weeks where we have a discussion, multiple discussions in the same week from different perspectives. But I did want to introduce this so that you understand just something that's a little bit more casual, something that's a little bit more, I would say, creative, asynchronous collaboration with you as a class. And so my goal behind these moon-based discussions is to not these discussions aren't anything that are going to be graded. So let me just put it that way. So the things that we discuss here don't show up in any. This is just something that is the creative part. It's just meant to give you some additional insight to be used for your assignments as you go through the process of building this moon base out. So let's jump into it. As I had said earlier, News Scientist, that they've got a permanent moon base article that they, it's nice. You can find some other stuff out there too. You're not beholden to just using the new Scientist article. You can go out and find some other stuff to help inform your project. As a matter of fact, I encourage it. I want everyone to go out and have something different from different perspectives. Everyone should be working off of the same project, which is the moon base, but everyone's going to have a different perspective in terms of how they architected it. And that's okay. That's fine. There's no perfect right way to do this. I'm actually looking for outside of the box creative thinking as it relates to architectures. So there's not like a standard way to do this. So with that said, let's jump into the use case. I'm actually going to run through each one of these, and the big takeaway from this as a discussion is to build towards the Div 1. Things that you need to be thinking about. Of course, there's a lot of different things here. There's a lot of different areas. There's a lot of different items within this, and some of them don't make sense to be in a data model. It just depends, and it's your perspective on this. So I'm gonna run through each one of these, and we'll talk through each one of these. All right. So first up is the ingress and egress. So you can see here that one of the things that you have to take into account for your Div 1 is the people, right? You got people in this diagram, and you got an ingress egress of some kind. You've got some kind of airlock mechanism. There might be some storage. Who knows? And this is I think this is critical and key because the whole thing doesn't work without the people. So we know for sure that we got people as an entity as it relates to your data architecture, right? You got a check in, check out process. Personally, I probably wouldn't have one ingress egress. On this moon base architecture, they're only showing one way to get in and out of the moon base. I think from a continuity perspective and a safety perspective, I would want to have multiple, at a minimum, 2 ingress egress areas. So that's something to think about as you go through the architecture process. Storage, airlocks, right? Doorways. Those are things that you might be thinking about. I don't know down to what level is airlock enough. Maybe everything is an airlock here. Maybe you have multiple airlocks. I mean, if we know we have multiple ingress egress locations, then airlock is important. Location is probably, now that I'm thinking through it, location might be an entity within your data model as well. Let's see. The mission, of the moon base too. Is it a moon base that's an operational moon base that's used to support other activities? Is it a research base? Is it a manufacturing center, right? These are things that I would think through. It doesn't have to be. You can pick one of the three that I just listed off. Is it an operational hub that supports other facilities, or is it or is it a research hub that has more specific emphasis on lab space? So anyway, something to think about, or items to think about. Let's talk about the lab space. Speaking of labs, water, waste, that's all showing up here. There's got to be resources, some kind of resource, human resource of some kind. It could be just resource in general, as an entity. And that can include water and waste. It could also include food. It can, just anything that's a resource. Labs, we could just call it labs or laboratory. There's also this thing of storage. That storage shows up again, right? And then there's a meeting area in the back. That's not bad. I mean, you could have like something related to location. We could call them areas within the data model. That's an idea. And areas have varying locations, right? There's a relationship between the type of area that it is. So you could have, I'm trying to think through, like, there's different, right? So areas can be high level, and then you can have different subtypes of it off of that. Like you show meeting area here. There could be a gym area. There could be a recreational area. See, these are just things to think through. And again, I'm just talking through it. Everyone's going to have a different view of everything I'm just talking through, and that's okay. Again, there's no perfect way to illustrate it. It just has to make sense and be able to tell a story to your constituency. So storage, you have a main storage area here, but you probably have, this is for scientific purposes, but you probably have a storage bay of some kind that's separate and apart from everything else, like a warehouse of some kind, like that's for stores just in general. But you can have sub-storage areas everywhere throughout the moon base. So storage could be an entity as well. Same for labs, right? You can have a main lab area, but you can have like mini labs in other places. So laboratory could be an entity to consider. All right, fitness, rest, and relaxation. So as with any type of moon-based activity or moon type of installation, you got to have some kind of rest and R&R type of, you need to be able to rest. Humans that's an operational characteristic of being human. We need sleep. So you need quarters. We also need some privacy. So these quarters need to have some semblance of something that is them and theirs. From a mental health perspective, right? We have to think through those type of things. So sleeping quarters. So you need an area for sleep. You need an area for gym. And you could probably put in here that you need some kind of area for just recreation purposes. I mean, fitness is one thing, but you need something that is decompression for other people. That is literally just an ability to zone out, right? Not only just your private quarters, but something that can be a game space, so to speak. And that could be something that's added to the sleeping quarters. I don't know. But that's something to think about. Again, these are just talking points. We're just talking through it, right? Okay, next up we have systems and storage, which is interesting because I think in this moon-based concept, systems can be computer systems, can be hardware systems, can be tools. Don't forget, right? You need some kind of maintenance activity or a maintenance area that allows you to fix the base. It allows you to do testing. It allows you to do tooling, so to speak. So this needs to include some of that. Now, storage is good here. That's fine. Again, this is back to, storage definitely is going to be an entity. Systems might be an entity too. Something to think about, like computer systems. Is there, is that the right way to go about it? I don't know. That's just, again, something to think about. I'd have to noodle on it a little bit more on the systems. What is this system? I could see that being something that you have. But, as you build out your Div 1 and you start to think through it, some stuff might become more clear, and you may add something new, or you might remove something, or you might add something that doesn't exist that we didn't talk about in this discussion. Again, this is just meant to be a discussion to help drive and elicit requirements from you as a team and as individuals to determine what makes the most sense for your moon-based architecture. And I think last but not least is this communal collaborative dining area. So I like to call this, there's probably, and from my perspective, this is this is, again, it's an area. It's I don't know if this is dining and kitchen. Should that all be done in the same? I don't know if should we all eat together, or should people be able to allow to eat individually? I don't know how this works, right? This gets into the psychology of it. But for sure, one thing that jumped out at me was if you've got a common area, one of the things that I would think makes the most sense is that the common area has has an ability to create uses some kind of modular furniture to be able to create a common area, but then be able to separate it up into other units so that things can be broken up where you can have people that can do breakout collaborations. So that's just kind of some things to think about. I think the other piece of this, when I think about the communal / collaborative common area, it's important, right? I mean, people, they need that connection. And they need to be connected, and they need to be able to create a team. So that's another entity, like a team. What is a team? And in this context, and some of it has to relate. You got to circle back to the purpose of the moon base that you're focused on, whether it's research, whether it's operations, whether it's something else entirely, that could have a direct impact on what we're talking about here from a teaming structure. And I think once you have a good feel for that teaming structure, the Div 1 will make a lot more sense. So think through the mission, think through what it is that the base is supposed to be doing, and I think you'll come up with a really nice Div 1 for your area. Okay, that wraps up my discussion part 1 for the moon base. Your assignment that you are going to be working on this week is going to be a Div 1, a single page document. All the informational entities that we just talked about and any other extra major entities that you can think of, put them in here. Definitely highlight the relationships between the entities. And the other thing too is think through the hierarchy. You don't have to list the hierarchy, but you do need to think through what that hierarchy looks like. One other thing that I want to mention, you can do it in a portrait or landscape format, and you do want to make sure, and this is actually described in the assignment in a little bit more detail, make sure you have at a minimum 15 entities on your Div 1. So however they're related, but just make sure you have those at a minimum 15. You can have more, but I want to see 15. I want to see it nice and populated. Again, you can do portrait or landscape. You can create using diagrams.net, using PowerPoint. You can use Visio, whichever one's your preference. Feel free to use the visual tool that makes the most sense and the one that you're more comfortable with. Just needs to be a single document. And with that, I don't have anything else to cover. As usual, if you have any questions or concerns, hit me up via text or email. Okay, I don't have anything more to cover, so feel free to start working as you get through this, work on that Div 1, and I will see you in the next week's learning activities.